All right. So this is VS Code, Visual Studio Code. It is a little more technical than maybe the Codex app, but I think it's worth exploring as an option. Here, I've created a folder on my file system and then opened that folder in VS Code. Within that folder is a guidelines folder that contains all of my video guidelines. I'll maybe make this even bigger. And then we're going to have two sample videos that obviously I didn't put a lot of work into this. So this is just an example of how I can persist this structure. And use it for multiple videos. To get started with Codex, you would go into your extensions, search for Codex, and you want the official OpenAI Codex extension. You will then just log in with your ChatGPT account. It will appear here on the left by default. You can fix that by taking the Codex OpenAI icon and clicking and dragging it all the way here to the right. That way your files are on the left and your Codex is on the right. That is at least how I prefer it. Once Codex opens and you are logged in with it, you can then just basically start your tasks. Before you do that though, one thing I think is really important to do is to go here in VS Code, go in your settings, search for AI, and disable the built-in AI features if you are not planning to use GitHub Copilot. Microsoft's trying to push GitHub Copilot and their own solutions. I don't think they're the worst, but at the moment I'm working directly with Codex, so that's all I know how to teach. Disable all of that. That way the only AI extension you have is Codex. So now what I can do is I can do things like turn on plan mode to go through the guidelines and anxiety and anger videos and make plans. I can also just set goals. Review the guidelines and produce images for each video. That's it. That's all I have to say. And because I have given Codex IDE context, so it understands the file system here and access to the machine, it's kind of just gonna go off and do its own thing here. It's gonna read the guidelines, and it should produce images for each of the videos, and that's without really any guidance. Within the guidelines and structure of the workspace here, the folder, you could go ahead and give a lot more instructions if you wanted on how exactly to make the images and where to put all the files, what files to read. There's standards for these things as well, such as agents.md and spec.md. Again, those are just markdown files. I didn't go over that, but if you're not familiar with what markdown files are, they're just text files that allow for some additional markup. The same kind of stuff that you would see on Reddit and blog websites and maybe even WordPress and stuff like that. So a little technical, but trust me, it's less scary than it seems. We can see that it's acting on its own. It's acting and thinking on its own. There's really not much to it. Unlike ChatGPT, where you have all that back and forth conversation and it takes a really long time. Here, if you wanted to get up and walk your dog or go to the gym or read a book or whatever, you could go ahead and do that. You don't actually have to watch this generate. It kind of goes off on its own, and I'm on the pro plan, so I have plenty of tokens. Even on the plus plan, though, you can get quite a bit of work done. So a common thing that people do, including myself, is just do other things and then come back to check on this folder every now and then, and see how it's going. I'm gonna let this continue. In fact, while this continues, I'm gonna go up and use the bathroom.